Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
You know the drill, listeners.
You send us the sources and we dive in.
And today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, this is a first for us, really.
It's a trivia challenge all about the career of, well, one of the all-time greats.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, that's right.
The one and only.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think our listeners submitted some really great stuff.
25 questions, I believe.
25, yeah, and they cover all kinds of movies.
Different eras, different genres, you name it.
So we'll present each question with a few possible answers, and then we'll talk a little bit about what makes the correct answer so interesting. You know?
Right, give it some context.
Exactly.
So you're not just getting the answer, but you're also getting a little bit of a story about Gene Hackman's career.
Exactly.
Ready to put your Gene Hackman knowledge to the test.
All right, let's jump in.
First question. In which film did Gene Hackman win his first Academy Award?
Okay, so the options are
A, The French Connection.
B, Bonnie and Clyde.
Or C, The Conversation.
The French Connection, which came out in 1971, it was a game changer. It just had this raw, gritty energy that really set it apart from a lot of other cop movies at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't talk about The French Connection without talking about William Friedkin, the director.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, his vision really brought this whole gritty, realistic style to life, which was such a huge departure from, the more polished Hollywood films that were being made at the time.
Right, and it just felt so much more, authentic.
Exactly, authentic.
And then you've got Hackman's performance as Detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle.
Popeye, yeah, what a character.
Talk about flawed, but absolutely driven.
Oh, yeah. And his methods, let's just say they were a little questionable at times.
A little rough around the edges.
Yeah. And I think that was part of what made him so compelling, though, right?
Absolutely.
He wasn't your typical hero. He was complicated.
Complicated, exactly.
And I think that really reflected a bigger shift that was happening in Hollywood at the time.
Oh, yeah. There was this movement towards, more complex characters, more morally ambiguous characters.
Exactly. And The French Connection was right at the forefront of that.
So the answer to that one is
A, The French Connection.
All right, moving on. Question number 2.
What role did Hackman play in the 1978 film Superman?
Okay, your choices are
A, Jor-El.
B, Lex Luthor.
Or C, Perry White.
Well, I mean, Hackman just nailed it as Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah. He brought so much charisma to that role.
It's Superman's arch nemesis, right?
Right. But Hackman brought a lot more to it than just, being this evil mastermind.
Oh, yeah. There was that whole other layer there.
There was a wit to him and a certain charm, even though he was clearly the bad guy.
Like those real estate schemes he was always cooking up. I mean, it wasn't just about world domination. It was about outsmarting everyone.
Yeah. And making a profit, of course.
So the answer is
B, Lex Luthor.
Question 3. Which movie features Hackman as this really paranoid surveillance expert named Harry Call?
Here are your options.
A, Night Moves.
B, The Conversation.
Or C, Scarecrow.
The Conversation, which was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, by the way, it really gets you thinking about privacy.
Yeah, and how technology can kind of blur the lines there.
And Hackman, as Harry Called, he's just incredible in it.
Oh, he really disappears into that role.
He's this guy who's spent his whole life listening in on other people's conversations.
Right.
But he's so isolated himself. He's got all these secrets swirling around in his head, and it really starts to mess with him.
He's a master at listening to others, but he's got his own struggles,
Yeah, he can't seem to connect with anyone. Not really.
So the correct answer is
B, The Conversation.
Okay, number 4. Gene Hackman and Al Pacino, they teamed up for a movie in 1973. Which one was it?
The choices are
A, Scarecrow.
B, Prime Cut.
Or C, Bite the Bullet.
Scarecrow, that's the one.
Bringing together those two acting powerhouses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's got to be a director's dream, right?
I mean, talk about a dynamic duo.
And it was a road movie at its core, really.
Following these two drifters as they, make their way across the country.
Yeah, and along the way, they form this unlikely bond. It's a really interesting look at, the struggles of everyday people in America at that time.
The answer is
A,
Scarecrow.
Question 5. This one is about a classic.
What character did Gene Hackman play in the film Bonnie and Clyde, which came out in 1967?
Is it A, Clyde Barrow?
B, Buck Barrow?
Or C, Frank Hamer.
Bonnie and Clyde was huge for Hackman, I mean, it was really his breakout role.
Oh, put him on the map.
And he played Buck Burrow in that one.
Beardlade's brother. Right.
Part of the gang. And he got his first Academy Award nomination for that role, too.
Really? Wow.
Best Supporting Actor.
That must have been huge for him.
Oh, yeah. It really solidified his place in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, think about how different that movie was.
Yeah, it really pushed the boundaries for its time. Totally. And Hackman's performance as Buck, I mean, he was a bit of a bumbling character, but he was also very loyal to his brother.
Right. He was an important part of that whole dynamic. So the answer is
B, Buck Burrow.
Question 6.
Which war film featured Hackman as Major General Stanislaw Sosabowski?
Was it A Bridge Too Far?
B, March or Die?
Or C, The Domino Principle?
That would be A Bridge Too Far.
World War II film, right?
Yeah, it tells the story of Operation Market Garden, which was this massive Allied airborne operation.
I know it didn't exactly go as planned.
Not exactly.
And Hackman played a real historical figure in that one.
He did. He played Major General Stanislaw Sosabowski, who was the commander of the Polish 1st Independent Parachute Brigade.
Wow, so he was a key player in the operation. So A Bridge Too Far is the correct answer. What's next?
Okay, question 7. In what year did Gene Hackman officially retire from acting?
All right, was it A, 2004?
B, 2006.
Or C, 2008?
Hackman said goodbye to acting in 2004.
He went out on a high note, though, right?
His last film was a comedy called Welcome to Mooseport.
I haven't seen that one, but I heard it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. But even though he retired from acting, he didn't exactly stop being creative.
What do you mean?
He started writing novels.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wrote a few historical fiction novels, actually.
That's really interesting. So even though he stepped away from the screen, he found another outlet for his storytelling.
Exactly.
So 2004 is the answer to that one. What's question 8?
Which film earned Hackman his second Oscar, this time for Best Supporting Actor?
Okay, the choices are
A, Unforgiven.
B, Mississippi Burning.
Or C, Hoosiers.
Unforgiven, that's a classic Western.
Yeah, directed by Clint Eastwood, actually.
Oh, wow.
And it really challenged the traditional ideas about, heroes and villains in the Wild West.
And Hackman's character, Little Bill Daggett, the sheriff, he was, let's just say he wasn't your typical lawman.
He was a pretty terrifying character, actually.
Oh, yeah. There was a darkness to him.
Yeah, he was definitely ruthless, and Hackman just played that role perfectly.
He really conveyed that sense of menace, and you never knew quite what he was going to do next. So the answer to that one is A, Unforgiven.
That's right.
Okay, on to question 9. Gene Hackman played a coach, but in which sports drama?
Here you go.
A, Hoosiers.
B, The Replacements.
Or C, Any Given Sunday.
Hoosiers is the one.
A basketball movie, right?
Yep, it's considered a classic sports movie.
And Hackman played the coach of this small-town Indiana high school basketball team.
That's right, and it was all about overcoming the odds and believing in yourself and the power of teamwork.
Yeah, I remember there being a lot of heart in that movie.
Oh, absolutely, lots of heart.
The answer is A, Hoosiers. What do we have for question 10?
What character did Hackman portray in the disaster movie The Poseidon Adventure?
Disaster movie. I love those.
Yeah.
Okay, was it A, Ship Captain Harrison?
B, Reverend Frank Scott?
Or C, Detective Mike Rogo?
He played Reverend Frank Scott in that one.
Oh, The Poseidon Adventure. That's the one where the ship gets flipped over by a giant wave, right?
That's the one. And it's all about this group of survivors who are trying to make their way to safety.
And Reverend Scott, he's not your typical, mild-mannered man of the cloth.
Oh, no, he was pretty defiant.
He was a leader, right?
Yeah, he really stepped up in the face of danger.
Okay, so the answer is B, Reverend Frank Scott. What's next?
Question 11. Which director worked with Hackman on both The French Connection and its sequel?
Choices are
A, William Friedkin.
B, John Frankenheimer.
Or C, Sidney Lumet.
Well, The French Connection, that was William Friedkin's baby.
Oh, yeah, he definitely put his stamp on that one.
And he directed the sequel, too.
He did. French Connection 2 Tekken came out in 1975, and Friedkin was back at the helm for that one.
So the answer is A, William Friedkin. That's got to be one of those director-actor partnerships that just works,
Oh, absolutely. They were definitely on the same wavelength when it came to bringing Popeye Doyle to life.
Question 12. In which movie does Gene Hackman play a thief? He's trying to retire, but then gets pulled back in for one last job.
Options.
A, Heist from 2001.
B, Runaway Jury, that's 2003.
Or C, Enemy of the State, which came out in 1998.
It's Heist.
Heist, so the classic one last job scenario.
Exactly. Hackman played Joe Moore in that one, a career thief who is ready to call it quits.
I've seen that one. It doesn't go well, does it?
Not exactly. I mean, it's a heist movie, right? There's always going to be complications.
Things get a little messy.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, the answer to that one is A, Heist. Number 13, coming up.
In which movie does Gene Hackman play a corrupt politician who's known as the General?
All right, is it A, The Royal Tenenbaums,
B,
The Birdcase,
or C, Absolute Power?
Hackman plays a corrupt politician in Absolute Power.
That one sounds familiar.
President Richmond is his character's name, and he's as corrupt as they come.
The General? That's a pretty intimidating nickname.
Yeah, he was definitely a powerful figure. And the film's about, what, the abuse of power?
Yeah, it really gets into some dark territory.
C, Absolute Power is the correct answer.
Moving right along.
What's question 14?
What's the name of the character Hackman plays in the 1995 thriller Crimson Tide?
Okay, A, Captain Frank Ramsey,
B, Commander Hunter?
or C, Admiral McRaven?
Hackman's character in Crimson Tide is Captain Frank Ramsey.
Crimson Tide, I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It takes place on a submarine, right?
That's right, a nuclear submarine.
And it's all about this really tense standoff between the captain and the executive officer over whether to launch nuclear missiles.
Talk about high stakes.
Oh, yeah, it's edge-of-your-seat stuff.
And Hackman's performance as the captain, it was really intense.
Yeah, you really felt like you were right there in that sub with him, dealing with all that pressure.
So the answer is A, Captain Frank Ramsey.
On to question 15.
Which film features Hackman as a detective investigating a series of murders down in New Orleans?
Is it A, The Big Easy,
B, Mississippi Burning?
or C, The French Connection 2?
That would be Mississippi Burning.
Oh, right. That one's set in the South during the Civil Rights era.
Yeah, it deals with some pretty heavy stuff.
Hackman plays an FBI agent, right?
He does.
And he's down there to investigate the disappearance of some civil rights activists.
Exactly. And it really highlights the racial tensions and the violence that were happening in the South at that time.
It's a powerful film.
Oh, absolutely.
So the answer is B, Mississippi Burning. What's next?
Okay, we're on to question 16.
Gene Hackman starred in a 1986 film about a basketball coach who leads a small-town team to victory. But what was the title?
Here we go.
A, Blue Ships,
B, Hoosiers.
or C, Space Jam?
Well, we've already talked about Hoosiers a couple of times, right?
Yeah, that was the one with Hackman as the coach of the small-town Indiana basketball team.
Exactly.
The answer is B, Hoosiers.
That's right.
Question 17.
What is Hackman's character's profession in the film Enemy of the State?
Is it A, lawyer,
B, ex-CIA operative?
or C, private investigator?
He's an ex-CIA operative in Enemy of the State.
That one's all about government surveillance and conspiracy, right?
Yeah, it was pretty ahead of its time, actually.
And Hackman plays this guy who's got all this inside knowledge about how the intelligence community works.
Exactly. He's the one who helps the main character, who's being wrongly targeted by some pretty powerful forces.
Okay, so the answer is B, ex-CIA operative. What's question 18?
What character does Gene Hackman play in The Royal Tenenbaums?
Is it A, Royal Tenenbaum,
B, Eli Cash?
or C, Henry Sherman?
He's Royal Tenenbaum in that one.
I love the Royal Tenenbaums. It's such a quirky movie.
Oh, yeah. Wes Anderson is definitely known for his unique style.
And Hackman's character, Royal Tenenbaum, he's the patriarch of this very, dysfunctional family.
He's definitely got some issues.
But it's a comedic role, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It allowed Hackman to show a completely different side of his acting.
Okay, so the answer to that one is A, Royal Tenenbaum, question 19.
In which movie did Hackman portray a character named Mickey who is caught up in the high-stakes world of poker?
Okay, choices are
A, Rounders,
B, Lucky You,
or C, The Gambler. He was Mickey in Rounders.
Oh, Rounders, that's a classic poker movie.
It really captures the whole underground poker scene.
And Hackman, he plays this old-school poker player who's kind of a mentor to the younger character played by Matt Damon.
Right, he teaches him the ropes of the game and some hard lessons about life along the way.
So the answer is A, Rounders. What's next?
Okay, question 20.
Hackman starred in a film about a group of American soldiers during World War II, but which one?
Choices.
A, Saving Private Ryan,
B, We Were Soldiers.
or C, The Battle of the Bulge.
Hackman was in the Battle of the Bulge.
Oh, yeah, that's the one about that really pivotal battle during the war.
It was one of the largest and deadliest battles fought on the Western Front.
Right, and it marked a turning point in the war.
Hackman was part of a huge cast in that one.
The answer is C, The Battle of the Bulge. We're in the home stretch now.
Okay, question 21. What role did Gene Hackman play in the movie adaptation of John Grisham's novel Runaway Jury?
All right, the choices are
A. Nicholas Easter.
B. Rankin Fitch.
Or C. Marley. Hackman played Rankin Fitch in Runaway Jury.
Runaway Jury, that's a legal thriller, right?
Yep, all about jury manipulation.
And Hackman's character, Rankin Fitch, he's the guy who's pulling all the strings.
Exactly. He's a jury consultant who will stop at nothing to get the verdict he wants.
So the answer is B. Rankin Fitch.
That's right. Question 22.
In which film does Hackman play a lawman out in the Wild West who is seeking revenge after the death of his partner?
Choices?
A. Unforgiven.
B. The Quick and the Dead.
Or C. Open Range.
We've already talked about this one a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, it's Unforgiven, right?
Exactly.
Hackman's character, Little Bill Daggett, he might be a sheriff, but he's definitely not afraid to get his hands dirty.
He's got his own code of justice.
And he's not letting anyone get away with hurting his friend.
Not a chance.
The answer is A. Unforgiven.
Question 23.
Hackman played a character named Harry in a 1975 film about a private investigator who gets mixed up in a drug deal gone wrong. But what was the title?
Your option.
A. Night Moves.
B. Scarecrow.
Or C. French Connection 2.
Night Moves, that's the one.
That was Hackman as Harry Mosby, right?
Right, and he starts out investigating this missing teenager case.
But then things get complicated.
Oh, yeah.
There's smuggling, betrayal, all kinds of twists and turns. So the answer is A. Night Moves.
Correct.
Question 24.
What is the title of Gene Hackman's autobiography, which was published back in 2021?
Okay, let's see. A. Acting My Age.
B. A Life in Movies.
Or C. Gene Hackman. The story so far.
It's called Acting My Age.
Acting My Age. That's a great title.
It is, and it really does capture his whole journey.
It must be full of great stories from his time in Hollywood.
I bet it is.
A. Acting My Age is the correct answer. And now for our final question. Question number 25.
In what year was Gene Hackman born?
Was it A. 1930?
B. 1935.
Or C. 1940?
Hackman was born in 1930.
1930. Wow, that's quite a while ago.
January 30th, 1930 to be exact.
Yeah.
And he passed away just last year in 2025.
At the age of 95?
95, yeah. A long and incredible life.
And he was born in San Bernardino, California.
That's right.
I didn't know that. So the answer is A. 1930.
And that, my friend, is the end of our Gene Hackman Trivia Challenge.
Whew, what a ride. It's really amazing when you look at all the roles he played.
It's incredible, right? He was in everything from gritty cop thrillers to heartwarming sports dramas, and he always brought something special to each role.
He could be tough, he could be charming, he could be funny.
Yeah, and he had a knack for playing characters who were, well, a little bit complicated. You know.
Complex. Yeah, definitely complex.
And those 2 Academy Awards, they're really a testament to his talent.
Yeah, he's a true Hollywood legend.
Absolutely.
Well, listeners, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've looked at some of Gene Hackman's most iconic roles, and we've hopefully learned a little bit more about his incredible career. But now it's your turn. I want you to think about all the characters he brought to life, and I want you to ask yourself, which Gene Hackman performance do you find most captivating, and why?